Find the approximate value of tangent of 43 degrees. The first thing to do is identify the x value that is being operated on. That will be the angle. So x will be 43 degrees. The second thing to do is identify the function that is operating on that x value and call it f of x. Since this is tangent of 43 degrees and x is 43 degrees, the function f of x will be the tangent of x. And the third thing to do is to find an a value near the x value of 43 degrees that the function can be easily evaluated at. On a unit circle, the closest angle to 43 degrees is 45 degrees. That will be the a value. Before doing anything else, the angles in degrees will have to be converted to radians to continue within a linear approximation. So we need to multiply each of these by a pi over 180 for the conversion to radians. For the x, that will give 43 pi over 180, which cannot be reduced any further. For the a value, that will give 45 pi over 180, which can be reduced. They're both divisible by at least a 9. 45 divided by 9 will be a 5, and 180 divided by 9 will be a 20. It looks like they're divisible by a 5 as well. 5 divided by 5 is 1 pi over 20 divided by a 5 is a 4. The linear approximation requires the function f of x as well as its derivative f prime of x. So the next thing to do here is to find the derivative of the f of x. The derivative of tangent of x is secant squared of x. We now need to evaluate the f of x and the f prime of x at the a value of pi over 4. F of pi over 4 equals the tangent of pi over 4, which is the sine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2, over the cosine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. They can reciprocate and multiply. This will give the square root of 2 over 2 times 2 over the square root of 2, and the square root of 2's can cancel, the 2's can cancel, leaving a 1 for each, and 1 times 1 is 1. The f prime of pi over 4 is the secant squared of pi over 4, which means to evaluate the secant of pi over 4 first and then square the result. The secant of pi over 4 is 1 over the cosine of pi over 4, which is a root 2 over 2. And then we will square that result. We can reciprocate the denominator fraction and multiply it with the numerator, which will give 1 times 2 over root 2 squared, which 1 times anything is the same thing. So 2 over root 2 squared. Each of them can be squared. 2 squared is a 4, root 2 squared is a 2, and 4 divided by 2 is a 2. The formula for the linear approximation is f of a plus f prime of a times x minus a. In this problem, a is a pi over 4, so this will be f of pi over 4 plus f prime of pi over 4 times x minus pi over 4. We have values for f of pi over 4 and f prime of pi over 4 that can be put into place, so that L of x will equal f of pi over 4, which is a 1, plus f prime of pi over 4, which is a 2, times x minus pi over 4. F of 43 degrees can be approximated by L of 43 degrees. However, we have to work in radians for the linearization, so this will be equivalent to L of the conversion of 43 degrees, which was 43 pi over 180. It wasn't able to reduce any further. F of 43 degrees is f of x with 43 degrees put in place of x, which is tangent of 43 degrees. And that'll be approximately equal to L of 43 pi over 180, which is 43 pi over 180 in for x on the L of x linear approximation. That gives 1 plus 2 times 43 pi over 180 minus pi over 4, which is equal to 1 plus 2 times 43 pi over 180. We need a common denominator between the 180 and the 4, which will be 180. 4 actually divides into 180. 4 times 45, so we have to multiply the numerator and denominator by 45, which will give 45 pi in the numerator, and 45 times 4 is 180 in the denominator. This is now equal to 1 plus 2 times 43 pi minus 45 pi is negative 2 pi over the common denominator, 180. This is now equal to 1, and this 2 can multiply with the numerator. Positive 2 times a negative 2 pi will be a negative 4 pi over 180. And the 180 and the 4 are both divisible by a 4. So they can reduce. This will become a 1, and this will become a 45. So this is equal to 1 minus pi over 45. Therefore, the tangent of 43 degrees is approximately equal to 1 minus pi over 45. And there's the approximate value of the tangent of 43 degrees.